What was is there something that you can think about that maybe was a very, obviously it was very helpful to be there, right? I mean, your game drastically improved and we can talk about that as well. But was there something that was really hard for you to adjust to? Was something maybe making that transition or doing a lot of the no gi training instead of the gi training? And even being in a new gym, was there something that you found that was kind of extra challenging or something you didn't anticipate that would be difficult to kind of overcome?
So for me, the move was pretty easy. I obviously knew the guys beforehand a little bit, John and Gordon in particular. So like I knew who they were, so that was an easy transition. Obviously, coming into training, I knew what my weaknesses were, but I never really had an issue in terms of um, like I always dealt with like training frustrations pretty easily. Um, where I would get frustrated if I was doing something wrong or if I realized that I had a hole and I was having trouble like fixing it. Um, but like I was always able to on a any given day at the very least pick up one thing. Whereas in the past, if I had like a frustration or something that I wasn't good at, like I would either avoid it or I would just it would just frustrate me so much to the point that like it would just drive me nuts. Whereas like now, like if I have a hole or have something that I need to work on, I'm kind of like mature enough to understand like it's not gonna like happen overnight. It might take a couple weeks, it might take a couple months, it might take a year. So when I first moved there, like we put it in our heads that I needed to get good at defending leg locks. Like that was like the number one thing that I needed to do. And within like I would say probably like 2 or 3 months, I was getting pretty good at that. Where like I was not getting finished anymore in the gym, except for like by the top guys. And then I just built off of that. So every single day or week, I would just like pick up a new tip or like a new thing that I would focus on, and then just kind of like add that to my game defensively. And I would consciously and like intentionally put myself in like worse and worse situations to the point that like I even now on any given day, like I'm just like trying to put myself in like a fully locked heel hook and like escape it. If I tap, like who cares? It's just training. I remember years ago I heard GSP giving like an interview, and he was like talking about how he in MMA would go to the very best in every given sector of MMA. So like he would go to the very best Muay Thai, he'd go to the very best Jiu-Jitsu people, he'd go to the very best boxers, wrestlers, so on and so forth. And he was like, yeah, I'm gonna literally get destroyed by all these people. Like there's just no chance because they're the very best. But I don't care how I look in training. So that's kind of like one thing that like stuck with me. I was like, yeah, you shouldn't care about tapping or how you look in training, as long as you're like using that to like push you forward. All that matters is you have to compete on this day and perform on this day. So that's kind of like one thing that I remember hearing that, and that always kind of stuck with me. Like anytime I think about that, I'm like, yeah, I don't really care how I look in training anymore. Like I want to obviously perform well in training and feel confident, like I'm getting good, and I do. But I don't care about failing in the training room, because ultimately you're going to turn that into something else.